Welcome, everyone, to the Best of Markham Podcast, brought to you by me, Igor Klibanov from FitnessSolutionsPlus.ca. Here with me today is Andrew St. George, our very first two-company entrepreneur. So he's the founder of both St. George Property Management as well as the Condo Support Group. Andrew, thank you so much for being here. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, so I'm Andrew St. George. I operate St. George Property Management, which is a condominium management firm operating out of Markham. We operate in the entire GTA. I've been in operation for since 1979. Obviously, I didn't start St. George. Actually, St. George was started by my father, and it's a family business that I took over a couple of years ago and have been operating. Condo Support Group is another company that I started about 6, 7 years ago now, because I saw a need in the industry for back end office solutions for managers that wanted to go out on their own and not necessarily work for a bigger company, and wanted to work for themselves. So we offer them the solutions, the accounting for them, the back end office stuff, phone systems, mail outs and administration services, so that they can worry about managing condominiums directly, and we can just do all the back end stuff. Yeah, and we found that was a good little system that's working, and so I started a company myself doing that. So that's in a nutshell, what I do. Yeah,
You got a lot going on. So not only did you
I do.
not only are you an entrepreneur yourself, did you start off in the family business, you solved your own problems, and then you thought, oh, other property managers have the same problems. Let me solve their problems and create a business out of that.
Yeah. We it was sort of something we fell into at St. George. We had a couple of managers come to us as things were changing in the industry. They wanted to get away from some of the bigger companies and go out on their own, but they didn't really know how to.
Mhm.
And they knew management, but they didn't know the other side of things, and not necessarily wanting to be entrepreneurs themselves. They just wanted
Yeah,
to operate and, have somebody else do something. So yeah, it was kind of fell into it, but we worked on systems that helped solve their problems, and we found it was quite beneficial to all those involved. Yeah.
that's awesome. And how did you get into condominium management? Obviously from your dad, but then what? I mean, a lot of kids don't want to do what their parents do. I certainly didn't. So what made you?
I, I I didn't either. I will be perfectly honest. It wasn't something I thought I'd ever get into. I watched my dad work a lot of long hours and, wasn't around a lot when I was a kid because he was operating his own business. As, anybody who's operated a business understands, it takes up a heck of a lot of your time. But I was in school originally for television broadcasting. That was where I was going to go. I ended up getting pneumonia and then strep throat within a month of each other, which took me out for a good month and a half of college. I couldn't finish that semester, so I needed to re-enroll for the next year. I had a year basically off, so I decided to start working at St. George and see how things were going. I really enjoyed it once I got into the specifics of the management side. Like I said, I'd only kind of seen my dad dealing with people and that sort of stuff. But when I got into the nitty-gritty, day to day of condominium management, I really enjoyed the problem solving that, was involved in it. I'm a problem solver by nature. I'm a leader by nature, which I found was something that was, I didn't really realize until I got into sort of management.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed doing that, and I'm helping people, through things, solving problems that most, people are sitting there scratching their heads on, and they might have had for, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and being able to come in and help them work out and finally come to a solution to some of these problems, I found extremely gratifying. And it was sort of something then at that point I said, you know what, I sort of made a shift and started getting educated in this and licensed and got my RCM and registered condominium management designation, and just sort of went from there.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah, as they say.
Awesome, awesome. And what do you like most about being an entrepreneur?
I like the freedom that it gives you. I mean, it's not completely freedom, obviously. You're at the whim of your clients. Instead of one boss, I have hundreds,
Yes.
as my clients. So that makes it a bit, but the freedom to be able to come up with solutions and trying to solve their problems individually, as opposed to trying to make them fit into like a one size fits all cookie cutter sort of solution that I find some of the bigger companies sort of try to force, this is how we do this, this is how we do this. It
Yeah.
gives me the freedom to not have to do it that way and to sort of ad lib and sort of improvise as we go along and dealing with different problems. I find that's a little bit more fun. About 10 years ago, I took some time out from St. George and went out into the industry to see what other things were. And not that I didn't have negative experiences, but I just found working in somebody else's sort of design on how you're supposed to do things when my experience told me that some other ways might help, really kind of gave me that push to do it on my own and be, my own boss and help come up with these uh, solutions or methods of being able to address the clients that I work with. So
Yeah, yeah. Actually, a lot of the entrepreneurs that I've interviewed on this podcast have the same answer. I want the freedom and I want to do it things my way. I worked in a big corporation either for a long time or for a short time, and I didn't like it, or I liked it, but I saw better ways of doing things, and I wanted to do things on my own. It's absolutely true for me. That's one of my motivations. The other one, I just didn't like my boss. Um, but a big one,
yeah.
I wanted to do things my way because in the big box gyms, like in personal training, they have the program and the client has to fit the program. I thought,
Mhm.
no, this is personal training. The program has to fit the client. Um, so I saw better ways of doing things. So then I said, just like you and a bunch of the other entrepreneurs I interviewed, I started my own company, and yeah, this is way more fun
Yeah.
than being an employee. It's got more challenges, etc., but way more fun. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely busier, but it's a lot more fun, like you said. Yeah, it's a lot. It keeps you more interested, especially because it's for your benefit to what's going on to the client as well. So
I
yeah.
am part of the fun to me of entrepreneurship because when I first started off, like I was pure, just a pure personal trainer. Like there was no marketing, no sales. Like this is the only thing I was interested in, exercise and nutrition.
Hmm.
Then once I became an entrepreneur, sales and marketing started to rise up in my things I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Now those are the four most fun things in my business: sales, marketing, exercise, nutrition.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of marketing, what do you do
Yes.
for marketing? How do you get new clients?
That's always been a challenge in my industry. When you're working with condos specifically, usually it's only, a 3, 5, 7 member board that's actually making these decisions. So marketing to just condominium owners or, the condominium industry as a whole is quite difficult. Not a lot of boards, not a lot of condominium owners, necessarily read trade magazines or anything like that. The money's not really there to advertise, on television or billboards, for what we do. It's not that type of, sort of thing, especially for the small niche market that you're kind of working towards. So, one of the things we've always worked on is word of mouth and reputation. I do the best job I can for my clients, and I hope that that makes them, want to talk about us when they go to other places. And, condo owners seem to be friends with other condo owners. And, so it seems to sort of snowball from there. So that seems to be the biggest way that we've done, that we've been doing it in the past. As you just said, I'm getting more into the marketing side of things and trying to, sort of make it rain, as we say,
Yeah.
just to get out there. So I that's another thing I found fun lately and dealing with is I'm getting into the social media, I'm getting into the website design, myself, I'm getting into all of this sort of stuff, as a way of trying to get the name out there, get some more recognition. I've been working with ACMO, the Condominium Association in Ontario. I was recently just asked to join their mentorship program that they had at the recent condo conference, that was held in Toronto last week. I found that fun, and enjoyable to be there, and
Yeah.
now I'm trying to get into more of the mentorship role as well. Not just to get the company out there, but I really, enjoy seeing others learning from what I'm bringing to the table and being able to use it themselves. Even if I'm not directly benefiting from it, I do find some, sort of satisfaction of that. And part of the byproduct is, again, your name gets out there a bit more, and it goes from there. I have the benefit of, my last name is the one of the companies, that I'm working for. So just by nature of me saying my name, and if I can get that out there, I get the company out there as well. So, but yeah, that's part of the fun of what I'm doing right now is trying to drum up business, and I'm finding that quite enjoyable and a step away, not step away from management. I'm still in management, but
Yeah.
it's sort of a little reprieve, from the management side. I'm getting to do a little bit something else on that side. Yeah.
You're not just managing properties, you're marketing property management services.
Correct. Yeah. And I've always thought, I've always believed in the tipping point. If you
Yeah.
do something properly and you keep doing it right, eventually you'll get noticed and eventually you'll tip the scales, and you'll start getting there. And I've felt that a number of times in the career it comes, but it goes back and forth. But yeah, right now I think we're on that tipping point again, and we're starting to start making waves and starting to make a name for ourselves again in the industry. So.
Yeah, yeah. I found it's the same thing for me because um, personal training at first when I started, because again, my background is kinesiology. In kinesiology, they teach
Mm,
you anatomy, physiology, etc., but not marketing or sales, which is what you need to run a small business. So at first, I was testing a bunch of different strategies. For the first 46 were colossal failures. Zero clients came out of it. Or number 47 worked really, really well. That was public speaking. And I still do that to this day.
yeah.
Uh, then I start, and anytime I discover a new strategy that works for me, my business goes up fast, then kind of plateaus until I discover the next one goes up fast again and plateaus. So to date, I've only discovered four great marketing strategies that work predictably, consistently, profitably, etc. In no particular order: public speaking, email marketing, writing and publishing books, and believe it or not, door-to-door sales.
Oh,
Uh,
really? Mm,
that works extremely, extremely well.
yeah.
But I've tested over 120 strategies. So that's four successes for 120 or so failures. But
Right.
that's part of the fun of marketing. You find something that works, and it's fun making a profit with that. But then it's also fun thinking what could be with a new strategy, because any strategy you test could be the next, $1 million strategy or more. Um, but statistically, most are failures. But it's interesting to see why did it fail, analyze it, change it up, re-implement it with a different modification, and see if that's the next $1 million strategy or more. Um, so yeah, there's that's part of it's both the fun and the frustration of entrepreneurship. Although to me, at first it was very frustrating. Now I'm more emotionally detached from the outcome.
Yeah.
On the one hand, I hope it'll work, but I expect it to fail.
Yeah. And you learn from failures. I mean, that's, I've got two small children and I try to tell them that, no failure is a waste of time. It's, as long as you can learn from it, and I mean, it kind of sounds cliche, but I
Yeah,
find that that's true. If you learn from a mistake or you learn from a failure, it wasn't truly a failure. It was something that still gave you benefit in some way, shape, or form. And as you said, you can't rest on your laurels. Things are changing all the time.
yeah,
My industry used to be no emails, no this, no that. Now, we can't operate without emails. We can't operate, without, getting information out to owners, especially with the COVID, that happened and stuff like that. So there's always, everything's always changing. And I find the same thing with the marketing side of things. You can't rest on one strategy. You have to constantly keep trying to find that next one that's going to work for you or coincide with what you're already doing. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Go hand in hand, and absolutely true. Because like I said, my first two strategies were public speaking and email marketing, and that's all I had for a good 8 or 9 years until COVID hit. And obviously, there's no public speaking when there's no public to speak to. And email marketing, well, how did I get my subscribers? Through public speaking. So it killed both of those in one fell swoop. So then I'm like, okay, I got to figure out other ways to grow my client base. And then, so although we lost 50 or 60% of our clients at the beginning of COVID, we still finished 2020 37% better than 2019. And then every year from 2020 to now has been between 32 and 38% year-over-year growth. Um, so yeah, that's the fun and the danger of marketing, of only relying on one thing, because that one thing can get taken away from you.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely it's a
Yeah, you
great.
got to keep diversifying.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great lesson you teach your kids, that there's no failure, there's only feedback. I heard of this story, and I don't know if this is true, from Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb. And somebody from the media asked him, "Well, Thomas, you tried this 10,000 times and you failed before you succeeded. Why didn't you just stop?" He says, "Well, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways to not do it. So I just have to figure out
Yeah.
what will work." So absolutely, it's the same mentality. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and what are you working on right now that's exciting to you?
Right now, like I said, I'm working on building the business and working it up, and I'm finding that very exciting. The other thing is I'm trying to integrate technology and AI a little bit more into providing a better service for the clients that I currently service. Anything that I can do to sort of speed up the process. Condominiums can move quite slow sometimes, the decision-making process, because you have to go through a board. And then sometimes you have to go through the owners. There's an approval process, everything else. So I find, it's a slow process, and not that we're trying to speed up the process, to lose sort of the idea of why it's a slow process. It's a slower bureaucratic process for a
Yeah.
reason. But at the same time, making decisions easier for the boards to make, making stuff like board meetings I have all the time. Well, some meeting packages have 50, 60, 100 pages, depending on what you're talking about, not very green, so we've been working on ways of making even the virtual meetings and the virtual packages, using less paper, things along that line, just to, you know, not just for a sales thing. I don't like wasting paper. I don't like doing, any of that kind of stuff. So, I'm just trying to use technology to the best of what it can be used for right now, in the company. So it's fun for me. I'm trying out new things. I'm trying, new mail out, procedures when it comes to emailing things to get things out to people.
Yeah.
It sounds boring to the average person, but it's something I find interesting just because I've done it the old way for so long.
Oh
It's
yeah.
always done one way, and now we're getting into a sort of a new, not a new era. I mean, computers have been around for a while, but it's changing the way that management's going. And I'm finding a lot of the older people that were in the industry that when I started, still haven't really changed their
Yeah.
methodology so much. So I'm kind of a hybrid. I mean, I'm not that young, but I started very young, and I'm still, in that sort of technology phase that it helps me sort of bring the best of both worlds to it. So I'm finding that quite interesting right now, and enjoying, coming up and finding new solutions, like I said, to that kind of problem in the operation.
Yeah.
So.
Totally. Yeah. Problem solving is a commonality to a lot of entrepreneurs. They have their core craft, which is what we, in your case, property management. A few of my previous guests were chiropractors, lawyers, etc. They're very expert at solving those problems. But once you have a small business, there's new problems, marketing and sales problems. Or in your case, right now, operational problems. So how can you use technology and AI to solve the operational problems? Um, so yeah, very, very, very relatable. And I know you're a busy guy, but what do you do in your free time?
Well, as I said, I got two small children and a wife, so that takes up 90% of my free time. If I do get stuff, I do enjoy doing, DIY stuff. I repair all my stuff at my house. I like my painting. I like,
Yeah.
doing that kind of stuff. I enjoy doing house stuff. I play pickleball when I can,
Nice.
to get out there. I got into it a few years ago, and I really enjoyed playing it. I used to play table tennis a lot, and
Yeah.
I find it's like, now it's like being on the ta table tennis court. You're
Yeah.
playing the way it operates. So I like that to keep active. I used to, work out, 4 or 5 times a week at the gym. That was before I had kids. And
Yeah.
then unfortunately, I found out pretty quick where the dad bod comes from, and why that exists. But yeah, anything I can do to stay active and move around. And I'm a cinephile. I love watching movies.
Nice.
Anything comes out, I watch it. My kids are a little too young to get into some of the stuff now, but they're starting to get to the age. We're getting into some Harry Potter and stuff, which I never really got into before because I wasn't into that. So,
Yeah.
doing that kind of stuff, anything I can sort of do with my kids and still find enjoyment out of myself, I try to do in my free time. So.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a favorite genre?
I'm still comedy. I do like comedy, action, definitely there. I'm a big Mission Impossible. James Bond is, any of the James Bond films are,
Oh yeah.
I've got most of them memorized by heart. So yeah.
Classics. Who's your favorite James Bond?
Pierce Brosnan. In fact, I actually named my son Pierce.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, yeah, it was, and that was the reason why we've got some Irish back in our family. So in my side of the family and my wife's side, we funny story. We, our daughter's name starts with a J, and we wanted to name our son James.
Yeah.
But when my daughter was born first, we started calling her Jay all the time,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to give my son the same J name and then have that sort of be a confusion thing or something like that. So we decided before he was born to change his name. And then when we started saying names, I sort of said Pierce, out of somewhere because we said James Bond while we were talking about it.
Yeah,
Said Pierce, and we both kind of liked it and it stuck. So, but yeah, so yeah, Pierce Brosnan was my favorite for sure. Yeah.
he's a good one. He's my favorite as well. He's very good. But
Yes.
out
Yeah.
of curiosity, a little off topic, have you seen the movie with Pierce Brosnan and Jackie Chan in 2017? It's called The Foreigner.
No, actually, I don't think I have seen that one. Is it
Awesome,
good?
awesome movie.
Really?
Uh,
I think I might have something for tonight then. Yeah.
Check it out. Okay, a little, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but here's a brief synopsis of the plot. So the movie takes place in Belfast, Ireland, and Jackie Chan is the movie starts off with his daughter going into the mall. There's a terrorist explosion in the mall. His daughter dies. Um, Pierce Brosnan is a corrupt police chief, and Jackie Chan tries to bribe him for Pierce Brosnan to disclose who is or are the terrorists. Pierce Brosnan, of course, is corrupt. He's working with the terrorists, and he
Okay.
doesn't disclose. So Jackie Chan, at the time the movie is set, he is a retiring restaurant owner. When they look into his background, he was some super high-end Secret Service like killer. And so he goes around trying to figure out who are the terrorists, and then he uncovers that Pierce Brosnan is working with them. He's corrupt, etc. Fantastic movie. Uh,
Oh, I'll have to give it a try.
that's without spoiling it. But yeah, if you
Yeah.
like Pierce Brosnan and you like Jackie Chan, if action, etc., check that out.
Oh, I do. I love that kind of stuff. Actually, just reminded me, I've been watching Mayor of Kingstown a lot lately as well, and it sounds like very similar type of plots the way that it goes along. So no, that'd be right up the alley of what I'm into, especially right now. So yeah, no, thank you for the recommendation. Yeah.
Good. I think you'll enjoy it. Awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome. And since this is, after all, a Best of Markham podcast, what's your
Mhm.
favorite business in Markham besides your own?
I'd probably have to say some restaurants. I love Markham Sushi. It's
Yeah.
a smaller, sushi restaurant over in the east side of Markham. Love eating there. TNT Bakery on Markham
Oh,
Main Street.
yes. You are the second
Phenomenal.
to say TNT.
Emma, yeah, I love breakfast there. I mean, it's phenomenal. They make some great sandwiches, and I really enjoy there. And my wife and I, Main Street Greek on Markham Main Street as well. It's a Greek restaurant there. It's family owned and operated, and my wife and I enjoy going there. They're always great with our kids. Great meal. We've enjoyed there numerous times. So yeah, the restaurants definitely we've got some good restaurants. Not a whole heck of a lot, but the ones that we have are quite good. Yeah.
You can't go wrong with those. I've been to Main Street
No.
Greek. I've been to TNT Baker, but I haven't been to Markham Sushi yet. I have to put that on our list.
Yeah, you have to give it a try. It's been around for a really long time. It's a little sort of, a little restaurant. I think it's only got 6 tables inside it. We do takeout a lot of the time, but even when you're in there, they give you very good service, and the food is very good. Yeah, yeah, at a
My,
reasonable price too.
my taste is very, very simple. If sushi has cream cheese in it, I'm sold.
Yeah, they've got a lot of different options there as well. Yeah, sushi, teriyaki, chicken, all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to go wrong with sushi. It's just so delicious.
Oh, it's phenomenal. My wife got me into it a few years ago. Now she doesn't eat it. Things changed after she got pregnant and her taste buds changed. But
Yeah,
now, so when we go out, I get her sushi as well. And yeah, no, yeah, I'm definitely a sushi guy. That's for sure. Yeah.
awesome, awesome. Thank you for the recommendation. Got to check it out.
Yeah.
And lastly, how can our viewers and listeners get in touch with you?
On the web is probably the best thing. If you search up St. George Property Management or STGPM, which is our website, stgpm.com, and Condo Support Group, again, a quick search will be able to find there, or it's condosupportgroup.com. Pretty simple web addresses to do. Both are operated out of Markham, and but like I said, serving the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, all over. We've gone as far as Oshawa and further out to the east, to the west, Etobicoke, Mississauga. We've even had some requests for out in Hamilton and stuff, stuff along that line. North as far as Barrie and
Wow,
south as far as St. Catharines. So, we're around. Yeah.
very broad area.
Yes, yes, yeah. We have to diversify quite a bit with that, but we've got a lot of good people that are in different areas of the city that also help us operate these ones. So yeah, it makes it beneficial. And again, with the advent of the computer and everything, and how we can operate now, it makes it quite easy to be able to deal with things from further away. Yeah.
That's perfect. And all those contact details will also be in the show notes as well. Andrew, I really appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Igor. I really appreciate you inviting me.
My pleasure.